welcome to our English news edition, the headlines. Celebrating the World Day Against Trafficking in Human Beings in Tajora. Palestine will chair a group of 130 countries at the United Nations. We are opening our news with this information without images, and following the recent developments witnessed by the Horn of Africa, the Djiboutian ambassador to the United States of America, Mohammed Siad Douala, addressed the International Security Council. In his speech, the ambassador expressed the readiness of the government of the Republic of Djibouti to resolve the consequences with his Eritrean neighbor. The Republic of Djibouti welcomed the positive progress and development between Ethiopia and Eritrea, especially that the Security Council welcomed the reconciliation. He said that thanks to this reconciliation between the two countries, after a long conflict which had a negative impact in the economic and social fields, he pointed out that Djibouti called on the member states of the African Union to find a solution to the border dispute between Djibouti and Eritrea, which was ratified on June 2nd in Nouakchott. The ambassador noted that the African Union must play a role in stabilizing the regional state. The African Union called on the members to reach out to its efforts to find a solution between Djibouti and Eritrea. In our international news, the Ministry of Justice and Prisons in charge of human rights and the State Secretariat for Youth and Sports organized the celebration of the International Day of Human Trafficking Victims, and with the support of the Migration Improvement Program funded by the European Union and the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. Activities were organized globally by an international company to coordinate the implementation of the Migration Management Program. The ceremony was closed in the presence of a number of members of the government, including Minister of Justice, Minister of Trade, Minister of Decentralization, and as well as to raise awareness about the current situation of migration in the fight against human trafficking. Also on this occasion was the Deputy Governor of the province of Tajora, General of the Ministry of Justice, Mr. Maki Omar Abdul Qadir, Director of the State Secretariat in Sports Area, Mr. Omar Hassan, local elected representative and officers of the National Gendarmerie and the Coast Guards. The ambassadors of the United States and Ethiopia in turn confirmed Djibouti's efforts to defend the rights of migrants and preserve their dignity as victims of human trafficking.
That's also another important issue. If we don't create an employment looking another country or looking another opportunity, also the demand of the people. So national coordination of effort is necessary. One I want to suggest is that national coordination efforts in every country to be established and to closely work with countries like we are working in Djibouti. Also establishing additional border posts is very important.
In his intervention, the U.S. ambassador in Djibouti thanked the Djiboutian government for its efforts in recent years to overcome these obstacles related to human trafficking and commends the novel initiative carried out by the Ministry of Justice, which is developing. Last year, he said the Ministry of Justice in charge of humanitarian affairs and was heard to organize the public prosecutors' course to combat human trafficking. The Minister of Justice talked about in his speech about the importance of celebrating the International Day of Human Trafficking. Under the patronage of the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports was closed Monday, July 30, an event celebrating the World Migration Day in partnership with Office of Programs Better Migration Management in Djibouti. This day, the closing of which comes just after a series of sports events that took place from July 28 to 30 in Tajora, saw the participation of many personalities from various sectors. It should be noted that this event was celebrated around the theme Migrants One Day, Humans Always, and Let's Protect Our Fellow Man. Thus, the football final opposed the teams of the South, namely Al-Sabih and Dakhil, and it is the Minister of Justice and Deputy Minister of Decentralization, as well as the ambassadors of the European Union, who had the honor to give the kick off this meeting. And finally, the meeting was won by the meeting of the city of Dakhil, shooting on goal against the team of Asijog. This morning, the Minister of Housing, Urbanism and Environment, Musa Mohammed Ahmed, received in his office the Ambassador of the United States of America, His Excellency Larry Andre, Mr. Hussein Rash Wobley, Acting Secretary General and Director of Environment and Sustainable Development, and Mr. Idris Ismail Noor, Assistant Director and Chemical Specialist, took part in this meeting. The Minister first highlighted the relations between Djibouti and the United States of America, and then discussed ways and means to strengthen cooperation with the United States of America in the areas of pollution, environmental monitoring, and capacity building in the field of urban planning. For his part, the Ambassador recalled that the United States of America is reviewing the programs implemented in Djibouti with a view to aligning them with the 2035 vision. The Ministry of Women and the Family, in close collaboration with UNICEF, organized a workshop on the operationalization of the terms of reference of Multi-Sectoral Technical Committee for Early Childhood Development and the conceptualization of the integrated approach for children. Early Learning Centers, this two-day workshop is part of the holistic development of children and early childhood. It is with this in mind that future centers of awakening will be created, a place of welcome that allows children to have a first experience with other children in complete safety. Early childhood development is one of the smartest investments to break the vicious circle of poverty and to ensure economic and human development. This will help stimulate development and break the intergeneration cycle of inequality and give every child a fair start in life. The Minister of Women and Family, Mrs. Mumina Hamad, stressed in her intervention that this workshop that will last 2 days is the continuation of the workshop July 24, which focused on the restitution of analysis of the situation on the integrated development of early childhood. The humanitarian logistic base of the World Food Programme in Djibouti hosted this morning a certificate ceremony of training to a dozen hearing impaired students enrolled in the first year of cap painting section at the Industrial and Commercial High School of Djibouti. The ceremony was sponsored by Mrs. Munti Shimuka, the representative of WFP in Djibouti, in the presence of the Director General of Technical Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Abdul Qadir Hamad, as well as senior officials from WFP TV. It should be noted that these students in the fourth year painting section completed a 1-month training course of WFP's premises, and these are of hearing students who were first briefed on WFP's various activities and then materialized their vision with images they drew on the walls of the WFP logistic base compound.
Being present in Djibouti needs to set an example of how we can integrate trainees into its organization. And therefore, we've also already had a number of trainees and apprentices in our logistics, admin, and finance departments. And in Djibouti, together with the government, we aim to leave no one behind as per the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. And in this case, we have also incorporated students with special needs into the program, and these are the students you see before you today who have assisted us to provide a beautiful, beautiful wall which is outside, which we will see a little bit.
In for its part, Director General Abdul Qadir Hamad paid tribute to the representative of the WFP Muntita for providing this training to special needs students. He expressed his sincere thanks to the trainer for the excellent quality of the training, which raises the level of knowledge and professional skills to these students with special needs who have shown all their talent in the field of painting. As a reference center for voluntary testing, the UNIS Tucson The center welcomes people who, on their own initiative and anonymously, benefit from free HIV testing. These people are systematically monitored and supported individually by a psychosocial assistant who listens to them and who provides them with advice and information for an awareness of the risks of contamination, as well as for a better understanding. Prevention means equipped with a reference laboratory. Blood sampling is the first step of screening and also complies with the rules of anonymity and confidentiality. In face with the risk of contamination, it is strongly recommended to make a screening process within 48 hours of exposure to be able to start immediately the treatment to prevent contamination. In the afternoon of July 22, the Anglais Brigade was seized of a case of theft and misappropriation of merchandise belonging to a merchant of the market. The investigations undertaken have shown that the perpetrators of these facts are none other than the employees responsible for the delivery to the various shops, having made orders in the capital and its peripheries. On July 24, 2018, the gendarmes of the Anglais Brigade were able to get their hands on the 4 perpetrators involved in this case of theft and embezzlement. During the investigation, the gendarmes were able to seize from the 9 concealers various goods consisting of stuffs, 2 large boxes containing thermos and 10 bags of sugar, a large bunch of cleaning products as well. The damage of the goods seized amounts to an amount of 2 million francs Djibouti. In the context of this case, the 4 people employed and the 4 concealers were brought to justice on July 28 at 3 p.m. And following the death of the late Asiya Ugur on the night of Saturday, July 28, the Minister of Housing and Environment, Musa Mohammed Ahmed, and the Ambassador of Djibouti in Germany addressed the most saddened condolences to the whole family of the deceased Asiya Ugur and to her son Ugur Kifle Ahmed, the former parliamentary minister and also Secretary General of the Food, and pray for the good God to welcome her in his eternal paradise. And now moving on to the international news. In Mali, 48 hours after the presidential elections, the opposition says that a second round will be needed to decide between the 2 candidates who came first. More with Mohammed Aden.
In Mali, 48 hours after the presidential election, the opposition says that a second round will be needed to decide between the 2 candidates who came first. But supporters of Ibrahim Boubacar Keita said to 73, the outgoing president are of different opinion. They expect a clear victory for their candidate in the first round. Everything will depend on the participation, usually quite weak in Mali. Mamadou Kamara, spokesperson for Ibrahim Boubacar Keita, the trend is clear, and clear indicates that the candidate Ibrahim Boubacar Keita comes largely ahead. Pending the official proclamations of the results, the supporters of Soumaïla Cissé, 68, the leaders of the opposition question the conditions of Paul Tibile Drami, campaign director Soumaïla Cissé, he say, of course, we dispute in advance these results with challenges and ask already before the disappearance of newsletters the recount contradictory. In case of a second round, the ballot is already scheduled for August 12.
In Zimbabwe, the 2 main presidential candidates claim victory. More in this video.
Main presidential candidates in Zimbabwe, President Emerson Mnangagwa and opponents Nicola Nelson Chamisa, each praised Tuesday for being ahead of the elections the day before, the first since the fall of Robert Mugabe after nearly 4 decades in power. The official results of the presidential, legislative and municipal elections, which are essential between ZANU-PF, the party command since in 1980, and the Movement for Democratic Change, have not yet been announced. But Ms. Chamisa, the young boss of the MDC, claimed on Tuesday a brilliant victory. We did remarkably well against Emerson Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF, he said, based on a count of votes on the majority of more than 10,000 polling stations in the country. We are ready to form the next government, he said on his Twitter account. Zimbabweans went to the polls on Monday for the historic elections according to the Electoral Commission, voter turnout was around 75% an hour before polls closed on Monday.
The state of Palestine will chair a group of 134 countries at the UN. Let's discover in this reportage.
Nation Deputy Spokesman Farhan Ak said the UN was eager to cooperate with the Group 77 and its leadership as he commented on the elections of Palestine as the next president of the bloc. This nomination is more symbolic than anything else in a political step forward for the Palestinians, at the same time in a snub for Israel, whose positions are rarely followed and even strongly criticized when exposed in UN meetings. Clearly, these elections are in the hands of the member states, Haq said, adding that the group is a very important place to address the concerns of the developing world. The G77 is a coalition of developing countries that promotes their collective interests at the UN. With the 77 countries originally 1964, the number of membership of the group has almost doubled and now comprises more than 2/3 of the UN member states. The bloc often speaks with one voice at the UN General Assembly and represents more than 18% of the world's population.
Iraq has spent more than $700 billion oil wealth since 2005. Let's discover it in this reportage.
Iraq has spent more than $700 billion from oil since 2005, but almost the entire amount has been spent. Between 2005 and 2017, the finance ministry has taken in $706.23 billion in foreign exchange from oil. A total of $703.11 billion, or 99.5% of amount, has been spent since Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi declared victory over the Islamic State group last December, marking an end to decades of conflict in Iraq. Social grievance have boiled over in a series of protests after erupting in the war-rich southern province of Basra on July 8. Unrest has quickly spread to several cities as people have vented their anger over unemployment, high prices, power cuts, and a lack of usable water.
3 killed in an attack on a midwife training school in Afghanistan. Himdi Ibrahim has more to tell us.
Students rescued by security service after 7-hour search in Jalalabad. Extremists killed 3 people and injured 7 in a suicide bombing at the midwife training center in Afghanistan. Dozens of female students were at the school in the eastern city in Jalalabad when 2 armed militants launched the attack at around 11 p.m. on Saturday. The first blew himself up near the gate, killing a driver and 2 security guards, and clearing the way for the second to charge into the center. It was not immediately clear why a militant targeted in the midwife training center, but extremist groups have previously targeted medical facilities. ISIS have also banned unmarried women from working outside the home in some area.
And that's all for this news. Thank you for joining us on RTD channel and have a good night.